Hello and welcome to Emotional Support Water Bottle with Hannah and Ailish.
I'm Hannah.
And I'm Ailish.
And you might notice
something a little different.
We're in the studio today.
AKA our local library.
We're not, well, they were supposed to have like a sound studio thing open. Do you see somebody?
There's window.
There's a gaping window.
And we'll have to post where you'll have to see like this actual setup from my view because I'm facing out towards the library and I feel a little self-conscious.
This room is not soundproof.
No,
so
it's not.
I'm gonna try to. Hopefully you can hear us.
Okay. Might be a little soft toned this time. So hopefully you guys like that.
Yeah. So anyway, we had to use a tutor room.
And I just would think that a tutoring room would also be
like soundproof.
Yeah, because if you're trying to study or if someone's trying to help you,
or like blinds or something. What if you don't want somebody to know that you suck at math?
I mean, this is straight up. We are exposed. But the one girl that just walked by seemed to not even notice that we existed. So maybe
we're probably just being too self-conscious.
I mean, we definitely are, but
anywho.
So you might notice Hannah also got her hair done, so she's looking like a supermodel, a hair model.
Yeah, but oh my gosh, the girl that does my hair always gives me the best scalp massage and a hand massage, and it's so amazing.
When does she do the hand massage?
While I'm and I get a hot towel. So while the hot towel's sitting, and then I get my little hand massage.
While the colors processing?
Oh no, that's already been done. This is during the shampoo. This is right after they do the scalp massage with oil. You get to pick an oil. And then she puts the hot towel around my head. And then, so when the conditioner's on.
Yeah.
And then she massages my hands. So
I'm in awe because my experience is not like that.
I know. I don't think that people that's the first time. I feel like salons aren't really doing that anymore. I had to do that in cosmetology school. In cosmetology school, we had to give them mini facials, hand and arm massage, scalp massage. Then we had to put freaking makeup on them at the end.
And this was just for one haircut.
Literally just for a haircut, but I don't know. So I haven't come across that since then, but I freaking love it.
It makes it feel very
in a spa.
Yeah.
And I feel like she's so quick too. 3 hours sounds long.
But that's how it takes with mine too. Yeah.
It's by the time they do the color, a trim, style, blow dry.
It takes
all
a
my
long
treats.
Time. And you have long hair.
Yeah.
So doing color and blow drying takes a long time.
Yeah. And I feel like she's so fast, and I still feel like we're super relaxed. I'm not going to shout her out because I don't know if she's comfortable with nobody knowing. Nobody that's listening. But,
3 people that listen that don't even live in Ohio.
But all I'm saying is it's great.
We also have our Big B coffee today, thinking about your hair. Mm-hmm. I hear 2 potential sponsors.
All I'm saying is, let me just turn this daddy around here.
When I take a drink, I'll look right in the camera
and zoom in.
Yeah, no, we don't have any big sponsors.
No.
But anyone listening, if you want,
just throwing it out there. You don't have to, but
I guess us saying that we have 3 listeners consistently probably doesn't make you want to put an ad in with us. Let me just tell you,
we're underplaying ourselves because we're not doing that bad.
No, we are. We're doing well. And you know what? Not to just keep talking about our podcast, even though that's why you're listening to us. But we just started in March.
Yeah.
So and it's August.
Yeah.
So we need to cut ourselves some slack.
We do.
Well, our main topic today.
The main reason why we're even here.
Yeah. is most of you probably know about the shocking podcast that was released.
Reality Reckoning.
And it was Bethany Frankle's podcast. What is it called? Something
I thought it was Rewives.
Rewind. I thought, but she has two.
Oh.
And one is like something. I should know this. It's something B. Like just B. I don't know what it is. I'm just making that up. Hannah's gonna look it up.
Okay, that's the rewatch. One is Rewives.
And the other one is something.
Just B. It just went away. Dang it. Yeah.
Okay, I just guess
I went away again.
That was something that like popped into my head. And
Just Be with Bethany Frankle.
Okay, so basically, I don't think that there was any promo for this at all. It was just like, this is out.
Well, the only thing I said I thought I heard was that she was in the works with Bethany about the that inappropriate video that was recorded.
But we didn't know a podcast was coming.
Heck no, this just literally came out of nowhere. I like got the news that morning. I'm like, what?
Yeah, Hannah, and we were both at work. Hannah texted to me. I was like, what is going on? And then Hannah, it was so funny because I
was rage texting.
I couldn't watch.
I calmed down since.
I couldn't listen to it just because I'm like in an office and I didn't really want everyone to hear that, but Hannah's like texting me all these updates live as she's listening. So then I would just be reading them and I would get heated myself. I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah, I was like, okay, I don't know what exactly we're going to touch on.
I know, there's so much.
Because I know, and it's like, I don't really want to like ream Rachel. Right, because obviously, because I think at the end of the day, we can acknowledge that she has been through like a lot, even if it was self-inflicted.
Yeah.
But and the thing was, I think the biggest problem was they were trying to have two different conversations.
They really were.
And they were like kept spinning around in circles about it. And I think that the one conversation about like exploitation of reality shows would have been a good conversation for them to just have.
Yeah, the problem is that Bethany was trying to spin everything to fit her narrative.
It should have been two separate things.
And before we get into like the meat and potatoes of the interview and everything with Rachel, I just feel like we need to touch on Bethany for a minute. It's so, serendipitous really that we talked about Bethany last week a little bit. We are. And now all of a sudden this is happening. She is on this steam train.
Yes.
Of just like, I don't even know, is she trying to like fully expose Bravo and take down Bravo?
I know. Or if she wants to do everything, like every reality show, because it's kind of like a little bit confusing, and then she has like this weird vendetta against Andy Cohen.
I know, what was that
and
about?
I thought Andy Cohen said he wasn't really like in charge of producing Housewives stuff anymore.
I don't know,
but maybe I'm wrong.
I would have to, and I wish I would have looked that up before we sat down, because I even thought about that too. Like, is he an executive producer on there? I know that Lisa Vanderpump is, but it just felt like she was trying to like pull all this stuff out of Rachel just to fit her narrative about like how, you're not being paid residuals, the unfair work environment. When she started like reading off the ratings numbers.
I know. Oh my gosh. She's like, hold on a second. And like starts reading it. I'm like, don't act like you didn't look this up before.
Well, okay, but this is what we had said before too. And it's the same thing with the Howie Mandel interview. It is just so lazy journalism.
Yes.
If you're gonna have a guest come on and not
talk about that.
Yes. And like with the ratings thing, if Bethany legitimately did not know that, don't read it live on
exactly.
Like, I don't understand that. Like, that was just absurd. She admitted that she didn't watch the show.
I know.
She didn't know the situation. Right. So why? I mean, and then it's like Bethany's narcissistic behavior. Well, why me, Rachel? Why me? I mean, you must have had the throngs of calls. Why me? I mean, I know I'm amazing.
Because, Bethany, you haven't watched the show.
Right. It was just...
It was.
To digress slightly, you'll have to look at this on our TikTok because I liked this video. Okay. This woman found this, like, I don't even know if it was like a freaking thesis or dissertation, but it's a published article comparing Donald Trump to Bethany Frankle. And like at first I was like, whoa, that what? But then the more this woman talked, and I have not read this published work, so I'm not going to speak fully on it, but basically it was just about how, like, and not to get political, but just with Donald Trump, how he's like, you know, I did this, I was the first to do this, I did this best, and everything like circles around him. There are so many parallels with Bethany, and this interview is like the pinnacle of it. It was insane.
Like, I hear you, but what did I do?
Yeah.
What did I do? Yeah, I know. I think just like the whole thing, that definitely makes sense. I definitely feel like Bethany wanted it to fit her narrative, and it did. That's the thing. But they did it so wrong.
Right. If she would have just, Bethany really should have just like given her this space, Rachel this space to talk, and then maybe towards the end been like, look, so I hear everything that you said. You know,
what was production, and again getting into that instead of doing this, like, I mean, it was like a 3-ring circus.
I know, but Bethany can't just sit back. I mean, she always has to have something to say, and the amount of ads that were in it was just, I said this on the TikTok I made yesterday, how, I mean, the whole interview was less than an hour and a half.
Yeah.
But it was broken up into 3 parts. And
3 20-minute parts.
Yeah. There were like, I would say 10 to 12 ads in each part.
I will say, I'm definitely going to listen to the Dear Alana thing.
Podcast. That you've been convinced.
After all that time, I'm like, you know what? And I looked for it, and I found it, and I followed it.
You heard it like 6 times.
I'm like, I kind of want to find out what happened with Alana. But anyway, no, it was extreme.
It like, just, if you can't see it's a money grab, that's my thing. Like,
I know. And if I've never listened to her podcast before, and I don't know if they're all like that, but the fact that you did that for this one,
I know.
It's like,
it's ridiculous.
I know. I literally, like, because I re-listened to it this morning, and I just kept like,
oh my God, how did you even like re-listen? I don't know if I could.
Well, I just wanted to make sure I remembered, because I have mega mom brain. So
I did think it was interesting before last point, I think, before we get into like the real Rachel stuff. I saw when the first part came out and Rachel McDonald made a point, and she was like, you know, I am so glad that Rachel went to Bethany because she's going to give her residuals on all the ads, that the money that's made from this, every time it gets played 10 years from now. Like, she will be set for life. She will be set for life.
Which, it's like...
But of course that's not going to happen.
No. And it's like, that at the end of the day, like, everything's a business.
Right.
And Bravo, the network, and all these other reality, they are still a business. And it's not fair. I don't know. There's just so much. I mean, we can get into it, but...
And like we said before when we were not recording, I don't really think that this situation with Rachel and Tom and everything is the right one to point out for... the network messed with us.
I know,
or whatever.
because even in it, like, Rachel is trying to spin the narrative of, well, the show is going to get canceled, but thanks to Scandal, it's like, no, even if it was on its way out, no producer told you to sleep with Tom Sandoval. And in fact, you guys were sleeping together after filming.
Right. And that's the thing.
Somewhat after filming.
Nobody knew that this was a real thing. The producers did not know. How, and seriously, do you really believe, if you believe that this was all just concocted for reality TV, do you think that the producers and cameras wouldn't be up when Ariana found the phone? If you think that's all set up, that everything would have been filmed.
Yes.
And the fact that, like, so much, they almost got away with it all.
Yes.
That's what's, like, so mind-boggling, that now you're gonna, after the fact, you're gonna be like, oh, they just needed it for ratings. And I was just, no,
like nobody made you do. And she made some pretty extreme like allegations with like Tom Sandoval allegedly having a producing credit.
Well, let's get into that. I think there were some pretty big things like legal stuff.
Yes, and so Tom Sandoval allegedly, which we had heard before, that there was a situation where he said, we need to stop filming. I'm not going to film until this is better. And we thought it was about the kiss. And then the kiss ended up playing, and I was like, oh, they just didn't listen to him. But apparently, if you don't know and you didn't listen, it was because Rachel brought up to Sandoval, like, why did you take a screen recording of that inappropriate video? And then he was like, because I wanted to show you how beautiful you look.
So slimy. I mean, that disgusting. Is just total.
I know, and I do believe that happened.
I do too. I was going to ask, what do you think about that?
I believe that's 100% what happened. And that is I think that's a really big deal. If Bravo really 100%. Didn't show that. That's a huge deal.
Here's what I think what happened with that. And obviously, I'm just throwing out my 2 cents. I know nothing on the inside. I think that happened, that Tom really did record that intimate moment without her knowledge.
Yes.
I think that she then found out about it and she didn't really care that, it wasn't, it was like, oh, you did that, whatever. Right. And then she brought it up because she's like, well, can I trust you?
Right.
And then she didn't even think about how damaging that could be for Tom. Like, it never even played in her head that, like, oh, this is actually a legal issue.
This is a big deal.
So and then afterwards, Tom was like, hey, like, you can't bring that up. Like, we need to take that out. And I bet she was like, oh, like, sorry, I didn't know. Like, yeah, we can edit it. But now, after the fact, people have talked to her and been like, no, like, that's wrong. That, like, he literally can get in legal trouble for that. Production can get in legal trouble. So that's what I think happened.
Okay. Yeah, that definitely could happen, where she probably was like, why would you screen record that? Then people could find out.
Right.
Versus... hey.
Right. Why, if you like knew at the time that like, that is such an invasion of your privacy and that someone cannot do that without your consent, like charges could be brought. And especially if the network knew, if production knew,
that's
like if she knew that at the time, regardless of how intelligent or not she is, like there is no way she would have just crumpled and been like, oh, fine. Like, I think she didn't know.
Or she wasn't, she definitely wasn't thinking about the severity of that. And then to bring that up on this podcast, that's a pretty big deal.
I mean, that's a huge allegation.
And then she said, but then she also was talking about how she thinks it's been passed around.
That's
which
huge
is like
too.
another, I know, I was like, that's also a really big deal. So
that's distribution.
You can't just, I know, it's like, you can't just freaking like, say that if you don't know for sure. Do you think that they're lying and they have seen it?
I don't know. I mean, I definitely think Ariana sent it to herself.
Yeah.
Which, because it's like, I want proof of this. This was my life partner and I want, I think any person would do that. Do I think that she actually would send that out to her friends? I don't know if she would do that.
That's the thing too. I'm like, I don't think if she showed people, I definitely don't think she sent it. But I guess I don't know. I mean, what Rachel's saying. I mean, that's a big.
I don't know how that would like benefit Ariana to be like look, like
this is gross. I'd be
too, if that were me, if I was Ariana, I would be like embarrassed that this like
existed on my
and I would
9-year relationship.
So I don't know if I think it's out there.
And that's also like a big deal. But then it's kind of like they weren't filming at the time.
Right.
That part. So I don't know. It's all very murky with all that.
And here's the thing too. I just feel like Bravo as a network is going to be protected by their own legal team, right? So, and with all of this, I am sure that they had people that were checking and making sure
things
like,
are
because they can get in serious trouble. I mean, not just like if we think about like everything with Beverly Hills,
right?
And what's her name? Why can't I think of her name? Tom and why can't I think of her name? That are in the legal thing. Erica Jane. Why? That was just a fade. But like everything with her, and I'm rewatching, well, not rewatching because I didn't watch last season. I'm watching it now, and they had flashbacks to the season before when all that was kind of breaking, and Sutton was like, I contacted my lawyer to see if like we could be brought in on anything. So of course Bravo is like, checking themselves.
I know, they're like, we called our lawyers too.
Yeah. So that it's just, I'm like, I think that they are protected, but her throwing this stuff out like that does not help.
And like once it's like out there and been made claimed, I mean, that's not gonna
that stuff doesn't just go away, you know. So do you think that they actually offered Tom a executive producer role?
I think I don't even, I'm assuming no. I think she's missane.
I think she is too.
I think she's like, well, he wanted to produce the scene or whatever. He was trying to be, maybe she even heard like one of the producers be like, you're trying to produce the scene. But I feel like Lisa Vanderpump would never let that happen.
Oh no.
And that would really irritate
the rest of the cast.
So I can't imagine that.
I snapped that to you after I listened to that section, and I was like, there is, because Rachel was saying that they offered him executive producer for this coming season, which there is no way.
I know, I just can't believe they would like...
If that would change the whole trajectory of the show.
Yeah, it's I'm not going to watch if Tom Sandoval... And I don't exactly know what producing credits really mean, but...
But like we said last week, if it's in relation to like the Kardashians, I mean, they all can choose
what they want on their
executive producing credits, and I highly doubt that like Ariana, Sheena, like people like that would even want to be on the show if he was the only one that was given.
Unless they're literally all doing it, but I doubt it.
I don't think that's true.
And like we said last week, it's like that does not make for a good reality show when they get to pick what they want.
And I think too, with so much of what was in this interview, it's like I truly do like feel for Rachel in a sense, because I just think, and I'm not trying to be mean to her, but I just don't think that she is that intelligent.
No, and she's so naive.
Yeah, she's so easily led, and Tom obviously knew that, and he just spun this narrative and sold her a like bill of goods, and she just ate it all up. And even like stuff that she was saying in this podcast, it was like, well, he told me this, he told me that. If you don't know by now that he was lying to you,
trying to sleep with you,
like, I don't know what more can be said.
I know.
So like with the producer thing, I bet he was like, yeah, I mean, they offered me the producer role because they think I'm so valuable.
And it's like, was he trying to say that to get her to film the show again?
That's
like, I'm not going to let you look bad because I'm going to be a producer and blah, 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 blah. No, I definitely, I mean, as angry as I was by some of the stuff she was saying, I did like, well, how do you feel about like, if you actually sit down and think about it, like the reunion, like, and then the way Bethany was trying to spin it, where like they said all these horrible things. It's like, okay, but if you're thinking about somebody, just your friend, whether Rachel says they're friends or not, you slept with your coworker's long-term boyfriend. No one's gonna be happy. So it's like, what do you expect? But then it did make me kind of think too, like, should that have been the reunion though? Just sitting there and giving this girl like a verbal lashing.
It should have
so soon.
It wasn't fair for Bethany to pull that out.
Yeah.
Because first of all, she doesn't know.
No, you did not watch the whole season.
You didn't watch the whole thing. You
don't know these relationships.
Right. And then to just like throw it out and be like, this was so terrible,
they called
as if Bethany hasn't done some of this exact same behavior.
That was the mind-blowing part. It's like, that's what was so confusing about some of it too. It's like, I can pull up video footage of both of you guys.
Horrible. Yeah.
Especially you, Bethany.
I know.
It's like, you were the freaking villain.
I know. And Bethany was like unprovoked with some of the stuff she would say.
I mean, she's a good reality TV person.
But like, she just was cutthroat and did not leave anything behind with people. But the thing with that, and we said this when it happened, and we might have even said it when we recorded on the podcast previously, but like, it was so fresh.
Yes.
Like, and when you watched that, I mean, watching that reunion was uncomfortable.
It was.
Like, seeing that, everything was uncomfortable.
I know, the whole thing, there was so many hurt emotions there, and I know, like, stepping back, I do think that was so exploitative.
Well, and it wasn't, I think it was for everybody, honestly. Like, they shouldn't have put Ariana in that situation. They shouldn't have put Rachel in that situation.
Can you imagine having to sit there with your ex,
oh my gosh,
and your coworker / friend, maybe not friend, acquaintance, and sit there and have to face them like 2 weeks later, literally 2 weeks later.
But that's where it shows too, like, it literally was the original timeline of like when they were supposed to be filming reunion, and then all this happened. It was like, oh well, I guess this is gonna be a little saucy, like,
I know.
But and when Bethany was like, when I read, she literally had the transcript and read it, and what made me so honestly disturbed by that part was the fact that Bethany knew that Rachel has just been in a mental health facility for 3 months, and you're gonna read that back to her verbatim.
I know, which she literally probably kind of forgot what people had said.
Like, that was horrible for her to do.
Deplorable.
And then she's like,
bleep yourself with a cheese grater.
If that were and how she kept saying, if you were my daughter, I would be in jail right now because I would have murdered. Why did she keep saying that?
I know,
like, that was bizarre.
It sounds like you want to murder somebody.
Like,
okay, you said it enough. Yeah, and that was the thing too. It's like we said, it's like taking that out of context and saying it, and then saying it back to this girl that probably, again, like, totally forgot that was even said. And even in like that surreal moment, like, because she probably totally like and she kind of even said that she's like, I just kind of disassociated, which
is understandable.
I know.
But there was no reason. I mean, she could have just said there were some really terrible things said to you.
Do you remember
but
it?
She said it. She read it out word for word.
We really need to nail
effect.
this in my point of how bad reality TV is.
Bethany said, I hear hatred out of this. I hear a lot of hurt.
Yes.
It was pain coming. I mean,
yes, she was
from Ariana.
I know, like, she was a hurt person, and yes, it sounds bad to say go F yourself with a cheese grater.
Like, it is bad. I mean,
I know, like, all those things that's not nice to say to somebody, but it's like there's no context. Like, this is a person you've been in a relationship with. This person knew you guys were in a relationship. It is hurtful.
Yeah, I mean,
she was upset. Everybody was upset.
Even if Ariana looked back, I'm sure she would be like...
That's the thing I was going to say, too. It's like, I think even if you asked Ariana and Lala and everybody, they would have done things differently.
I think Lala even said that
like,
she...
Obviously, I was projecting.
And I was it was in the heat of the moment.
I know, and
it was literally
upset.
Right after that all broke. I mean, of course, the emotions were so raw.
Yes, and I think, too, they were trying to get Rachel to, like, feel something.
Right, and give some sort of reaction.
I know, when it was, like, nothing, which now I think I don't know, I guess we understand more. It's like that was a coping mechanism for her.
Should we discuss HIPAA?
Dr. Andy Cohen.
This is where it's just, I don't know. I feel like she hears bits and pieces of things and just tries to tie it together in her head.
What broke HIPAA would be if your doctor...
I'm like, honey, come on.
And then it seemed like they were trying to twist, like, well, Bravo knew I was on medication and then disclosed it. It's like, no. Andy was trying to understand why you were
literally I think we even said that.
I know, we're like, something's not right here. Like, she's so out of it.
I mean, it was like, and if she was on something or not, I don't know, and I don't really care.
Right,
but
and she kind of said like she was,
then she said it was also, I'd been on it for X
years.
amount of time.
Like,
so
well, I am medicated, Dr. Andy.
Andy doesn't know what, and Andy didn't prescribe you with anything. And
I know, I'm like,
that was where I was just like, okay, you poor girl, like, you don't understand.
She like, and again, that's a really big allegation, because now it's like, Bravo, did you know she was on something that day of the reunion, and you still sent her out there?
Right. Did you give her the pills,
Bravo?
It's like,
and then, the part too where like Sandoval gave Schwartz like a Xanax or something, that kind of,
or now when you're thinking, pulled it out and passed it around.
Yeah, it's like, now that you're thinking about that, maybe it's like, well, Bravo shouldn't have let that happen either. So it was,
but it is like when she was trying to say how, remember when she was in the treatment facility, and then there were the rumors that she was actually just at like a spa or whatever. Okay, so she contradicted herself by saying, well, I was on medication, and they shouldn't have ever said anything. Right. Andy shouldn't have even brought that up, as if Andy knew that but you were. Regardless, then she says, I was in this treatment facility, and Bravo didn't defend me when I wanted them to say I was here. Right. They're not going to come out and say that you're at a treatment facility. It doesn't matter if your team calls and says, they're like, they probably literally had lawyers that were like, do not touch it.
Right.
Because
this is like a sticky situation.
Right. I mean, that was so contradictory. Like, and then she's like, the cast was saying, did the cast know where you were? Like, I don't think that they all knew where she was.
And they had heard, and it just like brings up the point too. It's like, can the cast speak, or is it always on Bravo? Like, because at this point we're not filming anymore, and people are on their podcast saying,
and they're talking,
and they're like, I heard she's in a spa resort. It's like, why? Right? Like, they shouldn't have been saying anything like that, but they were confused. It's like they weren't saying where she wasn't, and then once they found out where she was, they did kind of like change their tune a little bit.
But literally, like, it is not, I guess, ethical or maybe even legally right for Bravo to put out a mass message and say
she's not at a spa resort,
and to tell all of the rest of the cast. That would be like us at work, and like if one of our coworkers got in a horrible accident, or they were sent to a mental facility, and there was an email blast out detailing. They can't do that.
Right. It's like, you're not supposed to be doing that.
Like, what did she, but she doesn't understand. I'm like, no. There was one other thing with HIPAA. Oh, and then when she was at the treatment facility, and she was really like cryptic about who this person was, but she made it seem like it was another famous person.
That's what I thought too.
But then,
like, oh, Raquel.
Right, like, because she said it was like a peer or something.
Yeah.
But then I'm like,
you should look that up.
If a person is in a treatment facility, it's like if you're in a hospital. If I was admitted to the hospital because of whatever, any person that is a patient there can leave and say, I saw Ailish at the hospital and I heard that it was for blah, 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 blah. Right. Like, should they do that? No. And I'm sure if you're at one of those like treatment facilities, I'm sure that when you sign the documents, it's like, this is confidential, but nothing is really holding you to that. Right. Now, if it was one of the physicians or the therapists, that's a different story.
Now that's HIPAA.
Right. But just because another patient
went out and was just a crappy person, it's like, that's not Bravo's fault. And like, I think she could have and again, that's another huge allegation that you think this peer is out telling you where you actually then were.
Which it was just kind of crazy, because it was like flip-flop. I wanted people to know I didn't, I wanted. Yeah, it was like, okay, girl.
It's like, you need to figure it out, but it still shouldn't have been figured out.
Right.
That part. Okay, what do you think about her thinking that Bravo should pay for her therapy or like her treatment?
I think that's complete delusion.
I was like, okay, so if I sleep with my coworker's husband, get caught, there's an uprising at work, why should the company I work for pay for my therapy from the fallout that I created? Or
even say that we, like, say our podcast blows up and we have a huge social media following.
Right.
And all these people are invested in our lives. And then it comes out that you slept with your coworker's husband.
Right.
And now we get all this backlash.
Right.
Like, that's essentially what happened with this show. You would never, and then saying to your employer, well, I'm getting all this hate.
So I'm going to need
from
you.
my coworkers and from an online presence. You need to pay for my treatment.
And it's like, I can't even think of in what context. Like, it would have had to been like, I asked you not, I don't even know what it could be to where Bravo would have to be responsible for your mental. And I was thinking too about Sheena. Sheena has been put for the freaking ringer through this show all the years she's been here. She's never demanded Bravo pay for her therapy.
No. I mean, I think I brought up the analogy with like an alcoholic. The only way I could think about it would be if the network or whatever knew that you were an alcoholic.
I know, and was
and
giving
then they
you
were pushing drinks at you all the time and putting you in these situations that are tempting, all while knowing that you were a recovering alcoholic. Then you had a relapse and had to go to rehab. Yeah, that's the only way I could think where I'd be like, they're but then again, it's like, well, you knowingly went on the show, you signed a contract. Like, it's so murky, and that's where things come in with like the reality show, like union stuff. But it's just like this is where, again, I think that she hears little things from people and starts trying to put it together in her mind. But like, it's not right. No,
and it's like, you chose to sleep with your coworker's husband or long-term boyfriend off clock.
Right.
So I don't know why they should have to then. It's like, yes, because none of that was on the show until the reunion. Right. And then the
extra stuff that they did. I know. Nobody, it was like she was trying to spin it that like they like forced her to do this.
Yeah, it's like they forced her. And then she kind of made that point back when we were talking about Tom Sandoval being the producer. She's like, well, I can't help if Tom like created this. And I'm like, Tom is a bad person, but I don't think he did this to keep the show.
I don't think so either. And
that's another big claim that was made.
Well, that brings in Alex Baskin too, because she like misquoted him, because there were, and I like fact checked this, he was quoted as saying, after season 9, it was pandemic era. Right. We were struggling. A lot of shows were. Right. It wasn't our best. So Bravo was like, yeah, we're giving you another season, even though it hasn't been so great. We'll see how it goes. He never said, this is our last shot season. If it's bad, we're not. It's canceled.
It's on you,
he never
Rachel.
said that. So like, and we don't know what was said like to the cast, off, whatever. But she was referencing interviews that he did, and he didn't say that in an interview. So
and she probably didn't read it. It's like, and just because that's what everybody's saying out, like that's what the rumor is, that doesn't mean that's the fact.
Well, and also, I feel like there's like a hair on my face. It's driving me crazy. But also, that's another, just saying that in general, like Alex Baskin saying it, is a way to garner up, viewers. Yes. It's like there was back, I don't know, probably 10 years ago now. Remember that? Like the haunted house in our area? Yeah. He would, for like 4 years straight, the guy running it was like, this is our last year. Everybody's got to come out because we're not going to be here next year. And what happened? He got so many people to come. Then he does it next year. Got so many people to come. So it was just like a tactic to get people attracted to the show.
Well, it's like, if you still want it on, you better make sure you're watching.
So like that could have been just what Alex Baskin was doing either too. But like regardless, he never said, they gave us this last shot
to do something
Somebody
big.
Better do something big.
And here's the thing too, like Bravo did not have to have Rachel back on after her and James broke up.
There really wasn't a point. I feel like they just kind of like, it's like, we're giving her a shot.
Yeah, it's like, well, what do you want to do, Rachel? Yeah. I know, that's the thing too, like the networks don't know, like Vanderpump, initially when a show starts, if it's going to do well or not. They're taking a chance on everybody. And unfortunately, if it does good, that doesn't necessarily mean that the people are going to get paid for that. It's kind of like the Call Her Daddy thing.
Right. And we see it with all, I mean, not just like, you know, or Bravo shows, but we see it with all types of like reality shows that have the same cast season after season.
Right.
It's like, okay, sometimes people mesh well together and there's a great season. Sometimes there's a juicy thing that happens. Yeah. Sometimes the next season, like the person that was the fan loved is the hated. Like it happens.
It's a villain arc.
You know, like.
I know. So it's like you can't. You know, if they wanted to push the Raquel single thing as the season, then that's what they did. And it was working until...
But the thing, too, it was like, she said in this interview that she's like, when I look back on stuff, I did so many things that were out of character, but I was also just like, you know, living for me. I was doing what I wanted. So you're saying that this was... you like even some of the other random stuff that was going on in the season with her was her. And like when Lala, remember when she had the breakdown in the car when they were on that trip, like they all were genuinely concerned. I thought it seemed genuine. I know.
And the way Rachel kind of like threw that in the face of like, you know, everyone was just attacking me at the reunion. They weren't asking, hey, you're being really out of character. Blah, 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 blah. Why are you doing this? They did.
Yeah, they did.
They did try to figure. And you said, no, I'm just having fun.
Right.
Throughout the season, if Bethany would have watched, she would have known that they did try. Right. And then when you slept with somebody else's significant other, they are gonna be like, okay, this is getting too much.
Well, because the crazy thing was too with Garcelle's son. Yeah. But when that whole thing went down, everybody was like, what is she doing? Like, if I knew that he was still in that, like, I would get away from it. And then she did. Yeah. And then it was like, okay, girl, like, she and Lala had their moment. And it was like, all right, you know, like, she's figuring out the world. And Lala was even like, 28.
You know what? I get it. She's like, I don't really think you're a mistress. I get what you're doing, you know? Yeah. It's like, it's not your fault. And it was like, people were... I don't know. I just didn't like the way she was like, nobody cared about me.
Right. I don't think that was true.
You just stepped over the line.
Right. And you did it multiple times. Yeah, and then the last time was in the worst possible way.
So damaging. What did you think about the part with the money thing? You make less than my interns.
Well, if we needed another reason to like think Bethany is out of touch, here it is.
You're paid.
And then we find out like... I saw people talking about how it was like Bravo sent like little minions out.
Like,
they
hold on a
TMZ.
minute. Like, I'll give you her pay stub right now.
And then we have Lisa Vanderpump that was caught in like the Sir Alley or something, and it's like, I think $361,000 is a lot of money. Like, and I've heard
3 months.
I know.
Do they even film for 3 months?
Right. And I heard with the Turtle Time podcast and Riley, we now know that he is in the industry with like, you know, stuff not related to Bravo, but he knows more the ins and outs. And he was saying, and like we know this from just watching stuff too, if you are on a reality show and this is your fifth, sixth season, I don't even know how many, if we divide it out, like $15,000 to $20,000 an episode is pretty, I think, average for something like this. Which it's like a huge amount of money for us because hello, but like it's people.
Are they looking?
No, they pretended we didn't exist. That is like normal.
I know. And if you think, okay, so then what are you making in brand deals outside of that because you're on the show?
Because she was making money in brand deals, even if now they've stepped away from her.
Yeah. So it's like, you can't just be like, oh, I barely get paid anything for 3 months of work.
And that is so like completely out of touch, even by Raquel, or Rachel. Like,
I kind of want to be like, cry about it.
Insane. Like,
I know. And it's like, I understand, like, and I know like the residuals and stuff is such a interesting topic, especially with streaming and everything. And it's like, well, it would be nice to get like residuals, like all these new people are watching and everything, but you can't sit there and cry about $380,000.
And that was just from this season.
Yes.
And she wasn't like, what was it, this season? And was she, would you consider like a main last season?
Yeah.
So even
since like Stassi and all of them are gone.
So even like when she was just James's like girlfriend,
right,
really fiance, she wasn't like on it as much before, and to now be making that much money, I think it's pretty darn good. Especially like you said, they filmed for 3 months, like over $100,000 a month.
Yeah,
come on.
And it's like, okay, fine, take out taxes and pay all your people. You're still making a ton of money in a short amount of time. And again, the exposure to get the brand deals and everything, it's like, well, if you want to play games like that, then maybe Bravo's going to be like, because I think, who was talking? Was it Nick Viall?
About
was kind
of social media.
Yeah, it's like, well, I'm going to come in and take your money. Oh, that's what Nick Viall was talking about. He was making really good points about, okay, maybe the new people are going to do better out the gate, but then they're going to get stuff taken away, basically.
Because like the networks are going to say, well, I own your social media presence then. And that's what he was saying. Like, I own that myself.
Yes.
I can do whatever I want. And even with his podcast, that is his separately.
I know.
So like even like with Lala and Sheena that have their podcasts, I mean, if we want to go into that, like Bravo could be like, well, we own that now.
I know. Or even Stassi, Jax and Brittany's podcast, Kristen's podcast.
Those are all their own entities. And I mean, that's like a whole nother thing to get into, but she had like 9 months out of the year when they film like more than that, but just say even 6 months where maybe you're not filming out of a year, to do whatever you want. Go to a bunch of appearances, get promotions on your Instagram,
go to school if you want.
You could do you could run your own little business. You could have whatever you want to do. Like, don't act like now she's in debt.
I know. And
what was that?
The part with the debt thing, first of all, I mean, I don't want to nitpick her because, but it's like, first of all, you said your parents paid for your treatment.
Yeah.
Second of all, then you said you were going to go traveling.
Right.
But you're in debt.
And you're going to start a podcast.
And so how do you feel about when she's like, everybody else is profiting about it or off the scandal but me? It's
she specifically brought up Lala with the send it to Daryl. That, if you isolate that, send it to Daryl. I mean, if you didn't know about the whole thing, you could have just been like, oh my gosh, a funny thing that Lala said, how random. Or maybe you know a Daryl or whatever. You wouldn't even connect it to her.
No.
And it's something that she said.
Yeah.
She can make merch about whatever she wants.
I know. Yeah, because if you, like you said, if you just have that, you have no idea. It doesn't say Scandival on it.
It doesn't say
Rachel
like,
is a mistress.
Rachel. Yeah, I hate Rachel. It doesn't say anything about it.
It doesn't say team nothing. Yeah. It's like, she can do what she wants.
Right. I thought that was like, she just, the whole interview.
Ariana's making all this because Ariana was the victim.
I know.
I don't know what you want me to say.
She's the real victim. Rachel's the real victim, as Bethany wants to put it. But it's like, okay, right. Well, now Bethany is using you.
Yes.
And I know, it's like, can you not see that? Like, the points you're making are being contradicted by the fact that you're on this podcast right now.
I know, and I think that's the whole problem I had with the podcast or the interview was there were so many contradictions, and I wish they could have just focused on the exploitation of reality TV stars.
I know.
Because that would have made such a difference, and I think I would have walked away because I still don't feel like Rachel's remorseful.
No. Well, and that's what I think is a shame. I mean, if you really spent 3 months in a full-time facility, getting therapy, really working on yourself, I would anticipate that you would walk out with being healed in some sort of way, or having some sort of new perspective on this, or even like that you're ready to take accountability. And I didn't hear that from her at all.
No,
and that was just like, I know. That was a shame to me.
I know.
And honestly, it made me, even though she said I was here at the Meadows, it made me question what was even happening.
I know,
there.
It made me think, I'm like, well, maybe we're at the spa. Because, I don't know, it was just kind of sad.
Well, because
something's like missing there.
No, with just her in general. Yeah, I know.
Something's not quite right.
And I don't know if maybe I don't know who she's being advised by. I really don't know.
And I felt like, too, because she did make the comment that James was, like, basically her only...
Oh, well, we'll talk about that in a second, the James thing.
I know. there was... that's been her only relationship.
Yeah.
And so I feel like she just really doesn't understand... And that was a long relationship, but
right.
I don't think she understands, like, the hurt of it.
I don't think she does either. But that's my thing. Like, if we're really working on yourself and getting this intensive therapy, you should have, like, walked out of there. Well, ideally, you're walking out of there and you're like, I do have this pattern. Right. I am looking at relationships in the wrong way. I understand now why I did this, and I am not just trying to, like, continuously throw others under the bus. And to me, that's what the whole interview felt like. She was just grabbing at any person she could. It started
out like, I just want to say I hurt everyone. I thought it was going to end there. Like, I made a lot of mistakes. I hurt everyone.
No, it really just went downhill from...
5 seconds later, she's blaming it on Ariana. But anyway... The James. And then, so then another
legal thing.
She's accusing James of being physical. Okay, well, that was she said Kristen basically took a bribe about not talking about that James was physically abusive. And I just want to throw this out there. There is footage on Vanderpump, I think it was after Sheena's wedding, where Kristen punches James in the face. I'm just going to put that out there.
And I mean, am I denying that other things could have happened in the relationship? Absolutely not, because we saw how toxic and terrible that relationship is from both people. Right. I mean, it was awful.
Spit on the door.
It was literally terrible.
I know, and it was like they were mean. They were, like cheating on each other. It was a bad relationship.
They shouldn't have even been together at all. And we're not in any way condoning any kind of, like, violence or abuse, but again, this wasn't something that Rachel had any reason to talk about. It's not her. Even, like, the stuff where she's like, well, Tom said that he and Ariana were basically just business partners. How can you, you don't have room to talk about that. It wasn't your relationship. With Kristen, you're not even friends with Kristen.
No, and you're, like, saying this. She's like, well, I mean, that's a huge thing to say. Huge. That somebody took a bribe.
Maybe, like, with the whole abuse allegation, maybe Kristen didn't even want that out there. Know. Like, maybe she didn't want to talk about it. Like, and
maybe
then
she changed her mind about talking about it.
And I did see that she posted, I don't remember. Yeah, she said like that next day she was like,
it's not true.
Yeah, I want to be clear that, like, I didn't listen to this interview. Like,
but I did not take a bribe.
Yeah, I didn't take a bribe about this. And I do believe that she did not take a bribe.
No, I don't think so either. Because why? They have no problem firing people. So if they wanted to fire James.
I mean, and I'm not so naive that I don't believe that there's, like, darkness within, TV networks and stuff. Yes. Of course there is. And within Hollywood, But do I believe that Bravo as a network is so unbelievably calculated?
I know.
That they would be
I'm
like...
going to give you a whole show.
Yeah, they would be going to lengths. Like, I just don't believe that all of this stuff, that they're hiding this, that they're paying people. Like, I just don't... That's like... this is like mob level is what we're talking about here.
I know. And like we said, those are huge allegations. So I don't know what's going to come from some of these.
It was not good. I mean, it was not a good... It made me feel bad for Rachel in the sense of, like, this poor girl needs to get away from everything. This is not the right avenue for her.
I'm glad she said, she's like, no, I'm not doing reality TV
I mean, she should never do it again. But do I have sympathy for her regarding this situation? No, I don't.
Right.
I don't. And then should we talk about how she's allegedly coming out with a mental health podcast?
Yeah, she's going to come out with the mental health. But I was kind of confused too, because she's like, I want to talk to basically other mistresses.
Okay.
But then she said a mental health thing too. So I'm like,
what is this going to be? And you said it, like, it, and Heather McDonald has said it. I'm sure a lot of other people have said it. Not anyone can just pick up a mic. And I mean, even like, I'm not trying to say that we do things so well either. This is a
lot of freaking work.
It is. And I don't even know if we are doing a good job. Like, you know what I mean?
You can't just pick out you have like a following. And if you really do have like famous mistresses on there, I do think people would listen, but I don't even know if that's what she's doing. It's like, you can't just pick up a microphone and expect it to do well.
No.
Even if you have a following.
Listening to her on this podcast was so painful at times. Like, there were times where I thought that my phone glitched.
I know, because it would be a sound.
It would be like a 10-second
I know. And
pause.
then she'd like say, and I'm not, you know, I have all kinds of brain farts all day long, but I mean, she would be like, blah, 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 sorry. Yeah. And then like re-say it. It was like, it was kind of weird.
It almost felt like, and I misspeak.
She's
like
reading.
I just couldn't think of Erica Jane's name. I mean, am I going to edit that out? No, I'm just going to leave it. But it's like, it almost was like she was saying something and then
hoping
expecting an edit and then saying it correctly, but she wouldn't even really say it right. Or like when she, I don't want to nitpick at her.
I know, I was trying not to.
When she said like the fees for going away to treatment or tuition, like it's not tuition.
You're not in college. It's like,
but okay. It's just like, she's just a,
it'll be interesting.
I don't know how someone would be able to sit and listen to a podcast like that.
I know. I guess all we want to say is it's not as easy as she made it sound.
No, it isn't. And if it kind of is annoying because, again, not like we have the formula and are doing everything right, but it's like we put in a lot of work with what we do. Right. And then if there's some larger podcast platform that comes and offers her a big deal when she doesn't even know what she's doing, it's kind of like a slap in the face, you know, and not that it is like a dig against us in any way, but it's almost like a rehash of like the Meghan Markle Spotify deal where, okay, it all started out fine and good, but then, well,
they're
allegedly,
not gonna deliver.
Then all these other things started coming out about maybe she's not even doing her own interviews. She ran out of famous friends to interview and then she just stopped doing the podcast.
Nobody want to be associated.
And can we please just talk about like, why are we going to glorify people who were knowingly the other person in a relationship? I mean, it's one thing if you were completely bamboozled and this guy or this woman was saying like, no, I don't have a spouse. We're separated, and you believed that. Versus knowing that they were in some sort of relationship and disregarding it. Like, I don't want to hear your side.
No, it's like, you don't seem like a good person. But yeah, so I think, I know. I don't know if people want to, I do think if they're famous mistresses, like if we had all Tiger Woods mistresses.
But how is she going to be able to be?
I know, that's why it's like, there is a cool opportunity there, but she's not gonna be able to do it.
I
like,
mean,
come on,
the poor girl literally can hardly string together a sentence and a cohesive thought.
And it's like, when is this even happening? Because she's allegedly gonna go find herself and travel the USA,
and she's in mounds of debt apparently. Like, I don't know. The whole thing, like you said, it was contradiction after contradiction after contradiction,
when there could have been a good conversation, and which is kind of a shame. I don't think they should have gotten any of the logistics of like the show and stuff, or as far as like the affair and everything. They should have just, what's ethical for a show to do, basically.
Well, it should have been her coming out, if you feel comfortable, discuss about your treatment. You know?
Like, and this is what I'm doing.
If she felt comfortable with that. And then if she did, great. If she didn't, then yes, focus on, you know, what you believe, how things were exploitative. But I don't think it still would have been appropriate, because this isolated situation that she got herself into was not the network exploiting her. But I mean, again, Bethany just wanted to fit her narrative. She saw this as a huge money opportunity, and she took advantage.
Let's get people talking. I'm sure there's been like a jillion views on the.
I know.
Because it's so shocking, but we'll we will see what happens. But Sheena has a diss track out right now called Apples.
It's actually kind of good.
It was good. I like it, except for the how you like them. APPLES.
At first I didn't understand because she spells out apples and then she says like how you like them. And I was like, wait, what? But it's a play on the same, but I know it's basically like karma, but
it's definitely a
I thought
she
sounded better.
No, and I thought the song was fun, except for the cause we're good as gold.
Cringe. But I appreciate how she leans into it.
I know, I like that. I wonder what I really hope Lala just like says something on the podcast. I don't think she will though.
I want Katie to say something because Katie, she put like a little cryptic thing on her Instagram.
This song, why, or what was it?
Why you
always lying.
And then, Ariana coming out with her book. We're definitely going to have to buy that.
That'll be an interesting, like...
When you put up on our Instagram about like doing it as a book club thing, I think that it would be kind of fun to do that as a book club, even though it's like, you know, drink and recipe based, but it would be fun to like go through and
like, I know, I think it'll be cool. I think we'll see what we can do with it.
Yeah, we can make some of the drinks.
I know.
That could, since it's going to be like December around Christmas time, we can do like a boozy episode. Maybe we do that when we have some time off.
But anyway, I guess that's what we have to say about that. We'll see what happens.
I guess I think with Rachel, she could have just ridden off and we never would have really thought of her ever again. And that isn't to be like mean to her. It's just the reality of the situation.
And I think at first she did do that, and then she came like out with this, and I don't know what's going to happen on this next season, but I do find it annoying that Sandoval is like with everybody. Like, I am annoyed about that. It's not just Rachel. So,
but was I surprised? No. I did think Lisa came out and said, like, because she was like, well, yeah, they wanted me to come back, and I said this is what I wanted. You wanted to be paid the same as Tom and Ariana. Girl, stop.
You know, she's like, I would have done it, but they just weren't going to pay me. And I was like...
No, but Lisa came out and said that she said, just do a one-on-one with me, which I actually thought, like, that would have been kind of interesting. I don't really think there would have been much content to that conversation from one side.
Right.
But, like, okay, I could have seen that being part of it. But, like, if she truly was focused on her mental health from this whole thing happening, she would not have gone to the reunion. If she allegedly was supposed to actually go into this facility before that. She would have just gone to the facility. She would have just disappeared after that, basically. Go back to Arizona, open a boutique, you know, go to school to become a secretary. You know, I don't know.
Or would she want to do something like a pediatric something?
Let's stay away from the medical field, please. But, you know, she really could have just completely gone away from it and started a new life. But the fact that, like, she's even doing this podcast, that she did discuss coming back, that she did go to the reunion at all, like, that to me just shows that, like, she really was just looking for money out of this as well. And even her doing the Bethany podcast, like, you don't have another job.
Right.
And you haven't really made an effort to do something different with yourself. I don't know.
We'll see.
It just kind of gets you a little heated.
I know. I definitely, like I said, I was rage texting you just because it was so, I don't know, it was just really frustrating to, like, just to hear somebody say things that she's got to know aren't true.
And I know some of them just seemed like blatant lies.
I know. And I think, like, okay, so if a situation, because that's the thing too, like, situations like this have happened on reality TV. I think this one just got people, I don't know why it got people fired up, but it's still, I hate the narrative of, like, everybody is always cheating, you know. It's like, why is it a big deal if you do it? Because it's still a big deal. It's always been a big deal. I've told you that too, like when Kristen cheated with Jax, Stassi punched her in the face. Like it's always been, and she was exiled for a long time. It's like, it's not just
this suddenly,
out of nowhere.
I do think too that like the timing of this whole thing and how it exploded, I think that was unique. I think, not to say that like this happened at the right time, but like as far as the media goes, I think it did. And I think we discussed it before with like the reason why I kind of thought this was taken up by literally every like news outlet was because people feel like nowadays if we don't comment on something, then irrelevant. We're irrelevant, and it's showing that like we're taking the other side or something, you know? So I think that's why everybody, because no one wanted to be associated with like, oh, I condone, you know, dirty cheaters. If this would have happened 5 years ago, 10 years ago, I don't think it would have been as big.
I know. And I think too, like,
it would have been big on the show, but not.
And it's like, I think we were just led to believe that certain characters were a certain way, and then it finds out like, wait a minute, other characters have been saying. So it's like there's a lot of layers. Stop acting like the biggest victim ever, though. You know, it's like
you weren't other a victim people of reality TV.
Yeah, it's like other people were, you know, punished for those, like Faith Stowers or whatever. She was exiled too. So it's not just you.
And I'm really tired of the like, well, they weren't married. They didn't have kids.
That's so annoying. It's like, does that mean a relationship doesn't exist if you're not married or don't have kids?
And we're not talking, we're not saying, oh, well, they were together for 2 months and then this happened. Like, come on.
No, it's
they
like
were together for 9 years.
Own a home. And there are business deals in that, but that doesn't mean the relationship isn't real. Come on. That was just, I think stuff like that was just really irritating.
Well, and from, like we said at the beginning, from Bethany's standpoint, don't talk about things that you don't have a background knowledge of. I mean, you're commenting on these things and you have no idea the background, the history. It's silly. It's so, it's like exactly what Howie Mandel did. Like, and everybody got mad because you don't watch the show. You're like, oh, you guys weren't married. Right. But then that just shows from their point that they're just like, oh, this is topical. I'm going to grab at it because I know it's going to be popular.
See, it wasn't that big of a deal. It's just, like wrong. But, anyway, I guess we'll stop going on about that.
I know, but I guess we'll just see what ends up happening. Yeah, if other people comment on stuff or if this is the last we see of Rachel or I don't know.
Hopefully, but
Bethany's just on her
we'll see how
train moving forward. I don't know what her end goal is with this reality reckoning.
No, well, she wants residuals and she's gonna stop at nothing until she gets her residuals.
I guess
so. Fine, but speaking of divorces, some breakups, Britney Spears.
Oh yeah.
Okay, this is like the main thing I want to say about it is that I hate that this is happening for Britney Spears because it's just another crazy Britney.
I know.
And it's like we're going to put out this narrative and everyone's going to brush it off when this is probably like a really sad big deal for her.
Well, and it's not a surprise that the marriage is ending, right? But
from scam.
Right. But then there's like what Page 6 initially broke was that Sam is going to put out this extraordinarily embarrassing, that was literally their phrase, extraordinarily embarrassing stuff about Britney. And then I heard that there were allegations of like Britney abusing him. Right. You know, it's so, why can't we just leave this poor woman alone?
Literally.
You know, it's
and
like
if all this drama stuff is happening with it, it's like, just...
I know.
It's just so sad. Like, it just makes me sad for her.
I saw she came out and put a weird post. I don't know if that was yesterday or this morning on her Instagram. But it was, again, like kind of a nonsensical string of like...
thoughts.
And there was one part where she said something about like, you know, if I wasn't like my dad's strong soldier, you know, this would break me or something. And I'm like... what is going on? Like, Britney, like, who is there for Britney? Is there someone there for her? Does she have a friend?
I know, because what are you left with after conservatorship ends, you know? It's like...
or like, everything that we've seen has been her dancing videos or her sometimes with Sam.
I know.
But like, does she have other people around her? Like, it seems like she's just stuck at home.
I know. And even like with her wedding and stuff, it's like,
that was all very suspicious.
People? I know. And it's like all these random people are invited. And then she's like, I was so happy when I found out Selena Gomez was coming, which could be like,
didn't you
she
invite
RSVP'd,
her? Yeah, like
maybe. But like, why didn't you know?
I know that there's just so much weirdness around that. I feel very bad for Bethany. Even if there's no drama at all surrounding the divorce, it's still a divorce.
She just like can't catch a break. And then it's like, how is she supposed to like get a decent guy? You know?
I know.
It's just really sad.
I know. So, you know, we feel for you, Bethany.
I know. We'll be your friend.
I know. I don't know if you know that we exist, but you know, I don't like talking bad about her.
No.
I mean, we haven't. It's just like some of the stuff that she posts is very odd.
Yes.
But like, I just hope that she has somebody that she can lean on during this, because it's not going to be fun. No. I'm glad that they did have a prenup.
I know.
And I heard that since, what is it, California law, like if you're married for X amount of time, you get like half or something. But they weren't married for that long. And I could be a little wrong on that.
Barely been married, really.
Yeah, I think it was like just over a year.
But it's like another lawsuit thing. It's like, gosh, she just can't.
Hopefully,
but we're excited for her book.
Yeah, we are. We really need to pre-order that, even though I don't know how I'm going to sit and read it in our timeline.
We'll have to like schedule it out.
I know.
But we also want it to be like new, timely.
Yeah, so I feel like we're gonna have to like really buckle down with that.
If they just want to send us a book,
I know. Who's the publishing house? We should reach out.
We'll give it a raving review.
Do you think that's what Celebrity Memoir Book Club does?
Oh, no,
do you think they just get stuff sent?
I feel like they probably just get stuff sent.
Because they get that book like immediately.
I know. Or maybe they know somebody.
Yeah, we need an in.
We do.
Speaking of our book club, Selma Blair's book, we'll be doing that episode at the end of the month, and we just both finished reading it, or listening to it. So we're gonna give it a little time to marinate.
I know. I definitely said I feel better. I don't know if the words feel better, but I don't feel like so. I don't know what the word is. It's better to step away from it.
Yes.
And take it in.
Yeah. I'm gonna need a little time to collect my thoughts.
Especially to like word it in a sensitive.
Yeah, it was not at all what I was expecting.
It was what I was expecting, but also different.
Like I
could tell by the black and white cover.
I actually really liked that picture of her.
I think she's so beautiful.
Oh, she's like...
Even now, I mean, at like 64, I'm just kidding. She's like 50
something. I don't like it when she has blonde hair. I don't think that's the most
flattering. But I have seen pictures of her where it's not that bad. And never mind. We'll talk about it later.
Well, just about her looks, and this doesn't really dive into anything that was in the book, but she was like one of my like celebrity girl crushes. Right. Like I love the dark hair, dark feature. Like, but then I saw it, and I didn't know a lot about her, honestly. No, like she's not a celebrity that I like follow. No. But then listening to this book kind of made me look at things a little bit differently. I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
But if you want to be involved in the conversation, make sure and read it. You read that before the end of the month.
And then, I was going to ask you, you went on that date. Oh, yeah. Did he ever text you again?
No, he didn't. And
that's it. He can't not be interested in you. You're the one not interested in it.
Well, that's the thing, because I had told Hannah I went out on this date, and it was like, I wanted to give it a try, but you kind of know immediately. Right. Like, I just know this isn't going to work. But I'm like, Eilish, knock it off. Right. You need to put yourself out there. And it was like a fine date, but like, I really didn't want him to ask me on another date. But then when he doesn't, you're like...
Excuse you?
What? I'm not just wanted by everyone. What? But I mean, realistically, I'm glad that he didn't, because then I'd have to think of like, you know, a way to say no, and then I would feel kind of bad. Right. But no, he did not.
Did you hear anything from the person that set you guys up?
No, and he actually like was kind of hands off about it. Like he didn't really ask me about anything. If he did, I would say, but I also don't feel a need to bring it up, because I feel like he doesn't really want to know. He was just like, hey, this could.
I'm gonna try it out.
Yeah. But yeah, no, so.
Ooh, audacity.
Well, but like I told you, there were some things that
that weren't gonna work
were
out.
not going to work out.
Maybe he thought that too.
Hopefully.
He shouldn't.
I know, he should have just thought, she's so amazing.
She's so perfect in every way.
I will change my entire personality to make it what she wants me to be.
Maybe he is too scared to text you back.
Maybe he is. I do think
you'll get
this could me being
"Are you up?" text.
This could me being delusional, but I feel like if I would have reached out, then that would have been a different story. Mm-hmm. You know, like I feel like he would have been like receptive to it. Mm-hmm. But since I didn't,
maybe he couldn't read you. Maybe he was like, I can't tell. I'll see if she says anything.
Yeah. I mean, again, I'm glad that he didn't. Mm-hmm. But I'm still single, guys. Not that I want any of our listeners to set me up with anybody.
DM us on Instagram. It'll be me, but I'll forward it. I'll tell her to look.
Well, speaking of our socials,
make sure you check those out.
Make sure you check us out. We're doing some new stuff. You might have noticed that I have been putting up on the fly videos on our TikTok. Yeah. I don't know. I felt like those were semi well received. I feel a little uncomfortable doing it, but now I'm like, you know what? I'm a slave to our craft. I need to just put myself out
We're
there.
just going to keep trying, whatever.
So if you guys like that, let us know. Mm-hmm.
And you know, let us know in the comments or DMs what you guys are thinking about the Rachel situation, or just about reality TV and the ethics of it in general.
Yeah, there's really a lot to unpack.
Do you have any insider information?
Yes, I would love it so much if someone was listening to us that was an insider and could like give us a little some tea.
Yeah, or like what you think, or just in general, like what are reality, or like what would be Bravo's responsibility in situations like this? Do you think this will change reality shows going forward?
I know, a lot of stuff to think about, guys. So we'd love some discourse here.
We would.
And you can also let us know what you think about our new setup.
I know. Well, we'll probably never be here again.
We'll probably never be here again. But
I liked it.
I do too.
It's just not always going to work out.
No, it's not. And we'll have to see what the new podcast room is. Ideally, you know, we have our own space.
Right.
It's not in the budget right now. / I don't even know where that space would be. Right. But it does make me feel like official.
I know, and it was nice to have a table, even though I keep wiggling around and
we're
being
like right next to each other, like across from each other.
Instead of like kinking my neck like this, trying to talk. But
I know. So anyway, thank you guys so much for listening. Oh, we didn't do recommendations. Oh God, I have to think of one now.
I have one. It's another phone game, but I've been like addicted to it. It's called Water Sort. So basically...
Oh, is that the one where it's
you pour the one... It's been so addictive. I've been playing it. It's not. And then you just, match up the water if you just need something to, like, zone out like I do sometimes.
I have one, too. I guess I'll do a phone game. I have one game on my phone, and this is what I think it's called.
I get them, and then I delete them.
I know, I would do that, too. This one I've had for a while. I actually have had it before, deleted it, reinstalled. I think it's called, like, 3 dots or something. And I don't have my phone because that's what we're using to record, but it's where you just have to match up the dots, like the same colored dots, and you have to make like little squares, and it's just like same thing. Like I'll just kind of zone out, then you get high up in the levels and it gets really hard.
I know, and you're like, ooh. Do you ever get like the weird? And I will say I got the water one just from looking at, like I have the they shove those ads down your throat. But it's like, I really have like downloaded games from that.
Me too.
But have you seen the one ad where it's like the kind of sexual, and it'll be like, I don't know, it was weird. It was like this maid like fell through this a maid falls through the ceiling in like her short skirt, and then it's like you can like pick what happens. You're like, should you spank her? It's like, what is this
kind of games are you?
I can't even remember. It was like something fantasy or something. I'm like, why am I getting an ad for this?
I saw one before where it was like based in like medieval times or something, and it would be like, you need to pick a wife to reproduce with, and then it would show like you get to create the girl, and then
oh my god,
it was weird.
Or the one where it's like the mom walks in, speaking of cheating, walks in on the dad like having an affair, and then her and the poor little son have to go like live out in the shed.
But then the like whole game has nothing to do with that,
and you just have to rebuild the cabin.
Yes.
So you and the son have somewhere to. I was like,
live.
What am I watching?
Sometimes it's like those games have not, like the ads that they make have nothing to do with the actual premise at all.
No, and then I've downloaded some, and I'm like, this isn't what it said it was gonna be.
I know,
like,
and then
delete.
I get mad. I know. Ooh, that took us down a weird little turn.
That is a rabbit hole. I did not expect to go down.
Phone
anyway.
games.
So watch what your kids are playing.
But you know what? That is true, because some of those get a little racy.
I know, like those ads. It's like, what if they're like, oh, I'm gonna download. I'll spank that girl. Anyway,
yeah.
Thanks for listening.
Thanks so much, guys. Oh, shorter podcast this week. Yes. So you're welcome.
I wonder how long it actually is.
It's 3 hours. Yeah, thanks for listening. We'll see you next week.